Dumpling Days, Chapter 21. The next day, Dad decided that since we weren't going to go to the cemetery, we should go to Lugang? Lugang. Aunt Ami and Big Uncle and his friends said it would be a fun place to visit. It's one of the oldest towns in Taiwan, Dad said. Also, there's lots of good food there. Repeating pattern, good food in Taiwan. The first place we saw when we got there was a famous temple, though it seemed more like a fair than a temple. There was a welcome gate, like the one in Chinatown, but this was much more elaborate, ornate, and colorful. It was gold and green with detailed carvings of flowers and dragons. The gate is very old, Dad said. Older than Grandma? Kiki asked. Older than Grandma's grandma, Dad said. It was one of the oldest things in Taiwan. Across two of the columns, underneath painted carvings and gold Chinese writing, there was a long screen flashing words in Chinese and electric lights. Is that as old as Grandma's grandma too? I asked, pointing. Well, no, Dad said, but it's as old as Grandma's granddaughter. It's a gate that crosses all generations. Through the gate to the temple, there was a rainbow plastic awning, lines of golden lanterns, and calling vendors with smoking food stalls on either side. Oh, that's a great illustration. In the courtyard of the temple, there were tables of food on rough wooden tables. I think the food must have been for ghosts because no one touched it. There were wax apples and other fruits, but there were also packaged foods like boxes of tea. There were even packages of Oreo cookies. That was a little unexpected, but I guess there was no reason why ghosts wouldn't like junk food. There was also a large stage set up with two people acting out some sort of play. They wore bright costumes of pink and blue and yellow and strange makeup. Well, strange is the right word. Their faces were thickly painted white with brilliant pink cheeks and black eyebrows. Not very natural looking. In fact, it was the opposite of natural. They looked like aliens. If Mom hadn't told the makeup woman at Lissy's photo shoot to give her a natural look, I wonder, would Lissy have ended up looking like that? Lissy would have looked awful, but I would have laughed. Ooh, opera. It's an opera singer. Have you ever seen a Chinese opera? No one was laughing at these people. Instead, there was a big audience watching. The only empty chairs were the ones in the front row, and there were lots of people standing in the back. I wondered why they didn't sit down in the empty seats. See that? Dad pointed. That's a Chinese opera they're doing. Why are they doing opera at a temple? Lissy asked. It's to entertain the ghosts, to show them a good time while they're visiting. In that row, Dad said, pointing to the empty chairs, I had just been wondering about. No one sits there because they're reserved for the ghosts. Everything was a mix of old and new. The temple building was ancient and elegant with intricate carvings and watching lions. It made me feel like I should be quiet and respectful. But the plastic canopy, the brashly colored stage and acting, the loud peddlers and the junk food made me want to run and yell. Not that I could yell, because there was so much smoke. Everyone seemed to be burning something. Incense, ghost money, paper, clothes. I watched people buying paper objects from a booth. There were paper dresses and suits wrapped in shirt boxes as if they were from a department store. In other boxes, there were fake teeth, gold watches, perfume, and even computers. I saw packets of ghost money too, and next to those was a pile of fake American money. Ooh, counterfeit. Those are US bills, I said, pointing. Why do they have fake American money? To burn, of course, Dad laughed. Nowadays, US money is worth more than most other countries' money. People always say American dollars are better, so they think they must be better for ghosts too. We laughed. Through the smoke, I saw Clifford disappearing into the temple and followed him. Where are you going? I asked him. I haven't been here in a long time, he said. The last time was when I was still in high school. I want to see if the green onions are still there. What? I asked as we entered a small room. Clifford went straight to a shrine that had a fancy red and gold case. In the case was a statue of a bearded man with a gold robe and a round belly. There was a stone table in front of it covered papers, garlic, radishes, celery, and green onions. Is he gardening? Is he the gardening god or something? I asked. Ooh, god of literature with garlic, radishes, and celery. Literature. Interesting. No, Clifford said and laughed. He's the god of literature. You gave him onions? I asked. Why does he need onions? Clifford offers green onions. Like I said, the last time I was here was before I went to college. I visited the summer before I was going to be a senior in high school, the summer before I was going to take the SATs. It's way too early for you to worry about it, but the SAT is a really important test. If you get a bad score, it can keep you out of college if you want to go, the college you want to go to. The better your score, the better school you can get into. I was really nervous about it. When I told Aunt Ami about this SATs, she told me I should make a prayer to the god of literature. Students in Taiwan take many exams, she told me, and they all make offerings to him for help. What did I have to lose? I was willing to take any help I could get. Aunt Ami helped me prepare. What kind of test is it? She asked. If you need talent, we'll get a radish. If the test is very detailed and long, you'll need some celery. Or if it is an intelligence test, we'll get green onions. What? I said. Why do I need those vegetables? They're offerings, Aunt Ami said. The word for clever in Chinese is Kong Ming, and the word for onion is Kong. I see there's a literary connection. See how they sound alike? So by giving the god of literature an onion, you are asking for intelligence. Makes sense. So the word for radish sounds like talent, I asked. Yes, Aunt Ami said, and celery sounds like the word diligence. You know, hardworking. Oh, is it a math test? We could bring garlic too. Garlic sounds like the word for count. I couldn't decide which of them to bring. Really, I felt like I needed all of them. But the SATs are supposed to be some sort of intelligence test, so I decided on the green onions. When we got here, I watched other students make their offerings. They would place a paper on the table, then their vegetable of choice on top. Then, gravely, they would bow to the god of literature with a smoking piece of incense. Ooh, vocab term, incense. Some wrapped their celery with their papers and tied them like little presents. What are the papers? I asked. Those are their test permits, Aunt Ami said, so the god of literature will know which student they're for. That made sense. There were probably thousands and thousands of students taking tests, but I didn't have a test permit. What was I going to do? Just write your name on a piece of paper, Aunt Ami said. But that didn't seem enough to me. There were probably a lot of Clifford Lynns in the world. In fact, there was another Clifford Lynn right in my school. How would the god of literature know which one to help out? I thought hard. Well, how did the government know which Clifford I was? My social security number. Dope. So on a piece of paper, I wrote my name and social security number. I rolled the paper around the onion and tied it with a red string. That's terribly not secure. I rolled the paper around the onions and tied it with a red string. I placed it on the table and took a piece of incense. As I bowed, I thought, Mr. God of Literature, please help me out on the SATs. I really need a good score. I'm all the way in the United States, so you might have to travel a bit, but you should be able to find my test using my social security number. Thanks. And then I almost started to laugh, but I held it in until we left the temple. It seemed so silly and I felt a bit foolish. I didn't tell anyone what I had done. I was a little embarrassed. Did it work? I asked. Maybe I should ask the god of literature to help me paint better with Audrey Chiang. I wondered if she knew about him. If she did, she probably brought a whole wheelbarrow of vegetables every day. How did you do on your SATs? You know, I did pretty well, Clifford said, and I even got into college. I even got into the college I wanted to, too. So maybe it did work. That's why I wanted to see the god of literature again. With that, Clifford took a piece of incense and bowed. Thanks, god of literature, he said. You're a good guy. And we both burst into laughter. Oh, that's the end of the chapter. Awesome.